I am 92 years old. I have outlived my wife. I have outlived my closest friends. I have outlived men I once admired and men I once resented. And somewhere along the way, I outlived the version of myself. Not the kind you see on the evening news, not reckless, not scandalous. The respectable kind. The kind who shows up early. The kind who stays late. The kind who pays the mortgage on time and shakes hands firmly, and the kind people describe as solid. I was that man. And I was an idiot, because I believed something that almost everyone believes. I believed I had time. I believed life would wait for me. While I handled important things, I believed love was patient. It isn't. When I was young, I thought responsibility was the highest virtue. Responsibility meant providing. Providing meant earning. Earning meant sacrificing. That's what my father taught me. He worked 6 days a week. He never complained. He never missed a payment. He also never sat still long enough to ask me how I felt about anything. I told myself I would be different. I wasn't. There was a Tuesday in 1983. I remember it vividly because I've replayed it thousands of times. It had rained all afternoon and the sky was gray and low, the kind of sky that presses down on you. My daughter had a school play that night. She was 8 years old. She had one line, one sentence. She practiced it for 2 weeks. She would stand in the living room, hands shaking slightly and trying to project her voice. And she kept asking me, "Dad, you're coming, right?" And I would kneel down, smile at her, and say, "Of course I am." I meant it. That's the part that breaks me. I meant it. At 6:34 p.m., I was still in a conference room, arguing about margins on a contract that no longer matters. I remember glancing at the clock. I knew the play started at 7, and I calculated the drive time. I knew I would be late. I could have left. No one was physically stopping me, and I could have said, "Gentlemen, this can wait." I didn't. I stayed. Because leaving would have felt weak. Because I didn't want to look unserious, and because I believed there would be another play. I told myself, she won't remember. Years later, when she was grown, I overheard her tell her mother I kept looking at the door. She remembered. Children remember absence more clearly than presence. You don't get those doors back. For most of my life, I told myself I was sacrificing for my family, but if I'm honest, work was easier. At work, I knew who I was. I had titles, authority, metrics, clear wins and clear losses. At home, things were messier. There were emotions I didn't understand. There were conversations that required softness. There were silences that felt uncomfortable, and I didn't know how to sit inside that. So I stayed where I felt competent. That's what I didn't admit for decades. I wasn't working because I had to. I was working because I didn't know how to be present. My wife used to sit on the porch in the evenings. She loved sunsets. She'd call into the house, "Come sit with me." And I'd say, "Just give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes turned into 10 years. There's something dangerous about 10 minutes. It feels harmless and it feels small, but when repeated enough times, it becomes a life. She stopped asking eventually. That's how you know you've lost something. Not when there's a fight, not when there's drama, when someone quietly stops asking. When I was 58, I won Businessman of the Year. It was a big deal in our city. Ballroom, black tie, and champagne glasses clinking. They said my name, people stood up. I remember thinking, this is what it was all for. All the late nights, all the missed dinners, all the school plays. I drove home with the trophy on the passenger seat. The house was dark. Everyone was asleep. I sat at the kitchen table alone, trophy in front of me. I waited for the feeling to last. It didn't. The applause was gone, and the house felt enormous. That was the first night I felt something I couldn't name. Not sadness, not anger, emptiness, and I buried it. Because the next morning there was another meeting. I retired at 67. People threw a party. They told me I'd earned it. I remember feeling restless the first week. I didn't know what to do with myself, and I didn't know who I was without a schedule, and that should have terrified me. It didn't. Not yet. 2 years later, my wife got sick. Suddenly, all the time I had saved felt useless. Hospital rooms are strange places, and they stretch minutes into hours. They amplify small sounds. You hear machines, you hear footsteps in hallways, you hear regret. One night, around 2 a.m., she looked at me and said, "At least you don't have to work late anymore." She smiled. I don't know if that smile was forgiveness or acceptance. She died 3 days later. The last real conversation we had was about whether I had eaten dinner. That was it. No poetic goodbye, no final speech, just something ordinary, and I would give everything I ever earned to hear her say it again. You think regret fades with age. It doesn't. It sharpens. When you're young, regret is theoretical. At 92, it's tactile, and I don't replay the contracts I signed. I replay the way she said my name when she was annoyed with me. I replay the time my son waited in his uniform by the front door while I finished a phone call. I replay the sound of the screen door closing on summer nights. I thought success would warm me at the end. It doesn't. Awards don't sit beside you in hospital rooms. Promotions don't hold your hand. I confuse being busy with being valuable. I confuse providing with loving. They are not the same. You can provide everything and still be absent. Sometimes I cry, not loudly, just enough for it to hurt. There is no one left to forgive me but myself. And forgiveness is harder when the person you hurt is gone. If you are listening to me right now, you still have something I don't. Choice. You can leave early. You can answer the phone. You can sit on the porch. You can let the meeting end without you. The world will replace you faster than you think. But the people at home, they only get one version of you. One. And once they stop asking, you don't always get the chance to fix it. One day you will blink, you will look in the mirror and not recognize the years that passed, and the only thing you will truly own is memory, not property, not titles. Memory. Don't fill it with 10-minute promises. I was an idiot. You don't have to be. I'm tired now. Go home early.